it's time for episode 5 on this video series of going from concept to prototype. As I said, this is episode 5. If you haven't seen 4, 3, 2 or 1, they're all online now. Go back, have a look at them. This will make a lot more sense. Where did we get to in the last video? We made asteroids come down and you can dodge them with a ship and they actually interact with the ship. That's nearly a game. On this episode, we are going to do some graphical work to make things look a little bit better. It's looking very basic at the moment. My idea for the prototype is to keep things as basic as possible, not really go through the graphics too much, because you can spend hours doing graphics and it adds absolutely nothing to the gameplay. But you can add graphics and that can add to the gameplay. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's have a quick look, see where we got. And run. Ship spinning. You can dodge, there are asteroids, and if they hit you, it quits. Right, let's go and try and figure out, first let's identify what I'm going to fix today. So as you see, the rocks fall down, but they very clearly just disappear, which really breaks the illusion that this is a different rock each time. We're going to fix this. Also, not helping things is this rock looks exactly the same each time. Very boring, very basic, no rotation, and the same size. So we're going to add some variation as well. And we're really going to try and push that this is a different rock each time, even though it's just one. So let's start with giving some variation to the rock, and then we'll move to adding some lighting. Okay. So, these are our models. We've got the hit cube for the rock, we've got the rock, and we've got the ship. So we're going to add some more variation to this rock mesh. So to do that, we go back to rock script. It's also incredibly windy today in this tent. So sorry about the sound quality, but hey, nature! Okay, so first we're going to do is we're going to get a random value for the scale of the rock. If we go to add rock scale X model rock mesh, we can import access to the rock scale, exactly the same as we've done before. Rock scale Y. As you can see, making a game is, once you've got the basics down using this system, it's very much just repeat it, figure out what's possible. Eventually things stay pretty much the same. It's only once you get into the more complicated side of like different effects and things, that's when things get a little bit more nuanced. Rock scale X. Okay, so if you remember, this if branch is creating the rock and it creates a random position. We're also going to make a random scale. Scale equals random dot rand int. Now, how big do I want these? I don't want it to ever be 0, because 0 is no rock at all, and that just seems a bit silly. But I do want more increments than just an int between, say, I think it's 1 at the moment. 1 seems quite large. I think it could be a bit bigger though, so between maybe like up to about 2 or something. But if I do like 1 to 2, that will be rubbish. And if I do 0 to 2, it could be 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1 to 100. There's an int between 1 and 100. And then if we go scale let's scale F equals I think if we do scale divided by, and if we use a float, I hope Python makes it into a float. 10. So divided by 10. No, that's quite big. 50. Yes, I think that sounds good. Yeah, okay. Let's put that on the side. And now let's, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that rock scale happen for every axis, X, Y and Z. I don't want the rocks to be all these different sizes, because I'd have to put a bit more logic in to make sure you don't get like these really like improbable size things, and I want to keep things simple. This prototype is all about keeping things simple. Equals scale F. I'm going to make this the same for all of them. Rock scale Y equals scale F. Rock scale Z equals scale F. Now with any luck, that should give us a rock that changes shape. Let's have a quick look. It looks a bit smaller than it was. Hey, there's a big one. You'll notice the tiny one. The big one didn't actually hit me, but it looked like it probably should have done, and that's because we've changed the scale of the render, but we haven't changed the scale of the hit cube. So we need to alter that now. You can see here, hit cube still 1, 1, 1 no matter what's happening. And we're going to do it the same as with position. We're just going to lock it to whatever rock mesh is. Rock mesh scale X. Close. See that for all of them. Rock mesh scale Y. And model rock mesh scale Z. Cool. Apply, close, save. Right, so that does what we want it to do. I'm pretty sure it'll work, so I'm not going to even test it. And the next thing we want to do is I want to change the rotation. And I don't care about having random rotation or anything. I don't think it'll matter too much. I'm going to rotate it on 2 axes. I don't really mind. I just want to add some variation. This is not going to change the gameplay at all. It's just going to try and be one of those things that I said, changing the graphics to try and push the gameplay, try and push the concept, rather than adding something like a lens flare that adds nothing but just looking pretty. I want to concentrate on graphical things that add to the prototype. They're the things I want to prioritize. So we need to get rock rotation. I'm going to change them X and the Y. Rotation X and rock rotation Y. I just chose 2, didn't matter. I just don't want it to be spinning like this. I want it a bit weird, a bit, I don't know, a bit off center. I think it'll look a bit better. Rock rotation Y. Okay. The next thing, I don't care about it being different speeds. I'm just going to keep it 1 speed. I want that speed to be quite slow. I want them to seem quite menacing when they come through, especially when they're big. When they're small, you won't even really see the rotation, I don't think, that much. So what I'm going to do is we're going to alter it here. Now let's get the rotation out into a local variable equals rock rotation X. Rotation plus equals time-based movement 10. Now you will also notice that that's going to go on forever, so it's kind of a runaway variable, but this is a prototype, so I don't really care about that. Really, I should loop it round after it goes 360 to make sure that variable doesn't end up thousands and thousands, but I can't imagine people are going to play this for that long, as it's just the prototype. In the full game, they're the things I'm going to have to worry about, and they're the things I'll have to make sure happen for the actual release. Right now I don't really care. And then we'll load that back in. Rock rotation X equals rotation. And same with this one. What was that? That was Y equals in the same rotation as well. I chose 10 for this time-based movement. No idea, just typed it in. See how it looks, change it. Apply, close, save. Now I'm expecting this to have a bit more variation. Yeah, it's kind of rotating a bit. I think it could rotate more. Let's change it a bit. I could barely see that really. Let's go for 50, because 50 seems like a nice number. Hey, there we go. Right, I think that change has really started to push that that's a rock. I like that. Right, next thing we're going to do, I'm going to do the... Oh, I got killed. The next thing we're going to do is I want to change it. Let's run it again. Probably end up making it so it doesn't just kill me. I want to make it so you can't see that rock disappear. Because at the moment the rock disappearing, it just ruins the whole idea as a rock. And we're going to do that with lighting. This render is a deferred rendering pipeline, which basically means it supports lights, and it supports lights in a fancy way. It's a video in itself, but at the moment there's only one light. I've called that sunlight in this, however that's not really true. This is actually the ambient light, and ambient light is from all over. In this sort of rendering pipeline, that just means whatever surface has at least this light. So I'm going to first off add in a new light, and you can add point light or spotlight. There's already sunlight, it's already in by default. We're just going to use a point light. No need for having a spotlight right now. Point light, it's also easier to work with and have no direction or anything, it's just a position. And we can go for I don't know, main point light. Okay, cool. We've got a main point light, and as the same as before, you've got all the properties here. So you've got light is on, it's right in the middle, the radius is 10, and then we've got all the colour. So in order for that to work, we have to add it to the scene. Main point light. Apply, close, save. Now when we start this, there will be a light source, which will make things a little bit more interesting. I'm also going to turn on the console, because there's a few tools that you can use through the console that make it a bit easier to set up the lights. And just quickly, this video is sponsored by nobody, so this video is sponsored by me. If you're interested to know why I'm in a tent, and what the heck's going on, and why do I keep getting a bigger beard every time, if you head over to youtube.com/livelifeinabox, you will see our vlogging adventures. This is my girlfriend Sarah, and we're off on a trek. We're currently in Cambodia, in Koh Rong Island, and it's pretty amazing. I don't know, this was quite a windy day, but yeah, that gives you an insight into my life as a nomadic, whatever this is. Let's go back to this and see if it runs. It is very stormy. Okay, run. Okay, looks very much the same, but I mean you can see slightly the effects of the light on the rock here. Yeah, that's looking pretty different. Okay, so if we want to see, be able to visualize where the light is a bit more, we can press hash, and that brings up the console at the back, you can see here. And if I put debug lights, we get a representation of where that point light is. So we see, we're inside the point light at the moment. Now one of the reasons that it looks very much the same is because we've still got that ambient light, and I'm going to turn that off. Also the reason why it's not having any effect on the rocket here is it's actually the light's inside the rocket. So quickly let's just change that. So position Y, we'll bring it up a bit, and then you can see it starts to take an effect on the rocket. You can move the rocket around a bit. There we go, you can see it's quite drastically changes the scene. Apply, close, save, and now I'm going to turn off the sunlight completely. To turn it off, all I need to do is set the colour of it to completely black. While I do that, it'll look a bit funky because we've got green and blue, and then everything's going to go blue. And then eventually we'll get it so everything goes black. Right, you can see it happening already. As the rocks go out of view, they fade, or it appears that they're fading out to nothing. And that's because they're going outside of the effect of the light. So to see that a bit better, let's just save that quickly. So yeah, to see that a bit better, let's get the console back up. We don't want to type that in, we want to type in debug lights again. Turn that off. Right, that's looking kind of interesting. We've got a rocket going, and the rocks mean that at that point it completely obstructed the rocket. It looked kind of cool, and it's moving further down. I'm quite happy with that. I think that's starting to look quite cool. That's looking like a nicer, more of a game experience. I think it's a good place to stop. So if you enjoyed this video, this is a new video series I'm trying, please let me know. Comment down below, and subscribe to the channel as well. This is a brand new channel. Apparently subscribing helps. I've no idea why. YouTube doesn't care about me anyway, I'm far too small. So in that respect, share it to people as well. show somebody, because no one's going to see these. And on the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to make this movement a little bit more complex. At the moment, it just feels a bit clunky to do this. It's actually quite easy. I'm going to add some momentum, which is and I'm going to do it in a really easy, not too mathsy way. I'm a big fan of not too mathsy. So yeah, join us the next one. It'll probably be in half a week or a few days, depending on if I have any power. See you later. I'm also going to upload this change to itch, so you'll be able to play this in its current form. Bye!